Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webcast, Top 7 Technology Trends in the Supply Chain. My name is Amanda Greiner, Marketing Coordinator with GSI, and I'm very pleased to welcome our main presenter, Tom Gabriel, Senior Solutions Consultant here at GSI. Now, before we get started, I wanted to give you a chance to review our Safe Harbor Statement. And now for a quick overview of today's meeting, which will last about 60 minutes. First, I would like to take a moment to go over a couple of housekeeping items, as well as provide a brief company overview. Then I will turn it over to Tom to get into our main presentation, which will last about 40 minutes. Next, we'll take a minute to go over upcoming educational events, and then we'll wrap up with a 10-minute Q&A session. If you would like to submit a question, you can do so through the questions panel at the bottom of your GoToWebinar console window located on the right side of your screen. Please note that questions will be answered at the end of the presentation, so if you would like to minimize your GoToWebinar console during the presentation, just click the right-facing arrow key on the top left of the console. Clicking the left arrow will return the console so that you can input your questions. And now I would like to give you a brief overview of GSI. GSI is a full-service J.D. Edwards consulting organization. We are an Oracle Platinum partner that was founded in 2004 and now has over 100 employees. We have offices nationwide and are recognized on the Inc. 5000 list of fastest-growing companies in the U.S. GSI specializes in project consulting, managed services, and cloud and hosting services, with all of our services backed with a 100% guarantee. GSI also provides a broad spectrum of business, functional, and technical consulting services for Oracle NetSuite, Oracle Cloud, Salesforce, ServiceNow, and other enterprise applications. In addition, we are a product development company that has many popular products, including Genius, which is our advanced monitoring and performance and analytics solution for J.D. Edwards or any business-critical system on any platform. Genesis is our load and stress testing application for system design, validation, or expansion for J.D. Edwards or any web-based critical system. G-Shield is our comprehensive security solution for J.D. Edwards, including password reset and two-factor authentication. Rapid Reconciler, which allows you to effectively manage your inventory, in-transit, and R&V reconciliation processes for any version of E1 or World. And Rapid Approval is a Salesforce App Exchange solution that streamlines the approval request process. And now I'd like to turn things over to Tom for our main presentation.
All right, thank you, Amanda. Just let me know when you can see my screen and we're good to go.
Okay, I can see it.
All right, so thank you, and thank you everybody for joining us. As Amanda stated, my name is Tom Gabriel. I'm a solution consultant here with GSI, and today we're going to talk about the top technology trends that are affecting the supply chain, or what the pundits expect to affect the supply chain in the relatively near future. So before I begin, first and foremost, I know I'm a tad late, but I'd like to welcome everybody and wish you all a happy new year. I hope your 2018 was fine, and I hope 2019 is looking up for you and your organizations. So as I stated, I'm talking about the top technology trends for 2019 and beyond, as determined and as outlined by these organizations. We all know Gartner, an industry leader when it comes to technology, especially EDI, especially ERP applications and things of that nature. But also some information was gathered from MHI, the nation's largest material handling, logistic, and supply chain association. Deloitte, KPMG both provided some insight and some information. And what's interesting to note here is this: regardless of the organization you go to get this information, they're all relatively consistent in what they're stating and what they're seeing, and what they're saying about how technology is going to affect the supply chain moving forward. So again, this discussion today is not about any one ERP solution. These trends are going to affect SAP, Microsoft, if you're using J.D. Edwards, Oracle, eBiz, whatever. These are things your organization needs to look at moving forward. And as I say, today is simply going to be a higher level introduction as to the overall technology trends. Subsequent webinars are going to get deeper into each specific area. So when we start, it's important for you to understand that everybody is saying that in 2019 and beyond, if you're not looking at technology and driving your strategic direction toward technology, you're going to really get disrupted in your business, disrupted in your organization. You need to embrace the technology because it's going to bring to your organization significant opportunities. And if you are one of your organization's enterprise architects or a technology leader, you need to look at those top trends, and you need to understand and identify the opportunities within your organization. You need to understand how you are prepared to counter any kind of threat that's going to occur because of this technology. And you need to understand what you need to do in order to gain that competitive advantage, maintain that competitive advantage. Now, if you simply look at the graph on the right side of your screen, you'll see that in a mere 25 years, we've gone from the birth of e-commerce in the mid-1990s all the way through the birth of cloud and social kind of events, up to in the early 2000s, the fact that smartphone, the adoption rate became a lot greater, the sophistication became a lot greater. And then here we were in the early 2010s with social media, socialization of business and things of that nature. And within the last 5 years, i.e. 2015 to 2020, businesses, industries, people, all of these were being disrupted and transformed because of the changes in technology. So we have to understand that the pace of growth, the pace of change is shortening, whereas we have to be more nimble, more agile in understanding technology and adopting the technology. So if we look at this, what are the major findings? The major findings is artificial intelligence is really bringing to bear changes in the digital business and the way we do business. Artificial intelligence is not only helping automate, but it's helping to augment things that humans used to do and the processes that humans used to do. We also need to understand that as people, the way we perceive and interact with this technology is going through a radical transformation. We need to understand that there's augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality. All of these things are providing us with a natural experience all within the digital world. So we have to understand and perceive and interact with these changes in a different manner. The digital space is used to monitor, analyze, and control real-world environments. No longer is man destined to control, their own progress. Artificial intelligence, immersive experiences, all of these things are creating a more open, connected, and coordinated, what's called smart space. So no longer in a bubble. We have to understand that we have to coexist naturally, and we need to have a formal mechanism that's put in place. As I said before, your technology leaders, they need to understand that they have to continually identify the technology trends, and you have to look and say to your organization and yourself, which ones of these are going to give our organization the greatest impact to create or maintain that competitive advantage we have. Now, not every organization is going to be the same. Not every organization is going to need to layer in robotics versus something else. But we need to understand that. And if we look at what David Searley from Gartner said, he says that the future of the intelligent digital mesh is going to be characterized by smart devices that deliver more insightful services everywhere we go. And this is what they refer to as the intelligent digital mesh. Intelligence, because it's how artificial intelligence is going to be baked in to every existing technology. Think about your smart refrigerator when it tells you you need to buy lettuce and sends you an email. Or think about other devices that are alerting you and telling you what to do. Almost every existing technology is going to have some type of intelligence. It's all digital because the digital and physical worlds are going to bleed together, and it's going to create a more immersive experience where you really aren't acting in one versus the other. You're in both at the same time. And it's a mesh because all of that is connecting not only people and businesses, but devices. It's affecting the content of the information we see and also the services we get provided. So under these three themes, what David is saying is they're the key ingredient in driving what's referred to as a continuous innovation process or a continuous next strategy that your business has to look at. Now, for those of you that have J.D. Edwards, especially Enterprise One, they talked about the simplified upgrade and things of that nature. ERP vendors like Oracle understood this was coming and started positioning their products 4, 5, 7 years ago and developing things so that they could stay ahead of the curve when it came to this intelligent digital mesh. So now, if we look at that and we look at those three components, we can see that within each one of those, there's areas that we need to consider, areas that we need to think about when it comes to how the supply chain is going to change in the next 3 to 5 to 7 years. And we're going to talk about all of these in one form or another today. And as I stated, subsequent webinars will literally drive into each specific area and show you how within your organization, your supply chain can grow and become positioned for the future. So again, the intelligent theme that explores how artificial intelligence, emphasizing machine learning, is baked into every existing technology that we have, creating entirely new categories of opportunities for your people and opportunities for your business. I don't know how many of you might have an Alexa at home or some other device similar to Alexa, but again, think about it. That is learning as you use it and starting to adapt to what you as a user want it to do. So when you look at implementing artificial intelligence, you need to make sure that you have a well scoped out and targeted purpose so that you can get the most flexibility, the most insightful and autonomous system. You want artificial intelligence to help replace the human aspect as to what to do. You're going to repurpose your human person and let artificial intelligence do the heavy lifting. Within the digital theme, we talked about how the immersive world is going to blend both the digital and physical worlds together to give you a more enhanced experience, to broaden your horizon, if you will. And because of this, we have so much data that is coming into our organizations now. You're going to see with the digital theme that the amount of data is going to be analyzed and processed closer to its source, with only summary information sent to those central systems that need it. In other words, all that information that's happening on the shop floor, a lot of it's going to be analyzed right there, and only the summary data that's necessary is going to move upstream into your other systems and applications. So these trends are driving your next generation business, and it's creating a whole new digital business ecosystem. And then when we talk about the mesh, that's how it's all put together. That's how we as people and organizations can create the greatest business outcome for our organizations. And this demands that when we look at these new capabilities, we have to make sure that we reduce any type of friction within the organization. More importantly, we have to make sure, because of all this data and movement between multiple people and devices, that we have better security. And we need to make sure that we are agile enough to respond to any kind of event that happens across these connections. So now we talked about the intelligent digital mesh. We talked about the various different trends within each one of these themes, but there's more to it than that. There's other bigger concerns. One of the other technology concerns that's going to drive and override all of this is digital ethics and privacy. Now, it's not simply about a company saying, okay, the government says I need to do X, Y, and Z, that's what I'm going to do. These pundits have stated that if organizations do not do what they need to do for ethics and privacy, that within 3 years, by 2021, those organizations that fall short are going to have to pay 100% more in penalties than organizations that did comply. And when we say comply, we're not talking about just simply putting into practice what they say we have to do. It's putting in practice what we should be doing. Because things are changing so rapidly, the ethics themselves are changing rapidly. So as an organization, we have to understand, simply because a municipality or some regulatory agency says we need to do X, Y, and Z, we have to think beyond that. Now, unfortunately, the United States is behind Europe. Europe is a lot more progressive in their ethics type of concerns, but hopefully the United States will get there as well. The other broad theme is quantum computing. Now, earlier I talked about mass amounts of data that digital transformation is creating, and mass amounts of data that need to be analyzed, mass amounts of data that need to be looked at and scrutinized and things of that nature. Well, if you look at our traditional computing system of a classical on or off, 0 or 1 kind of classical bit, that causes computing power and computing to be more of a sequential nature, i.e. a computer has to analyze and do things one after another. What quantum computing is saying is this: computers are being created now where they can analyze things in the same string. So they don't have to be sequential. They can occur at the same time. And the way that they explain it is this. Assume you had a library of books that you wanted a computer to read through and analyze and perform analytics on. In today's day and age, it would need to read each book singularly and then put all that data together and analyze it. What quantum computing is saying is it will look at all the volumes and analyze them all together at the same time. And you can imagine that once we get to that point, how quickly information is going to be able to be given back to everybody. Now, quantum computing is still far off. It's in its infancy, probably won't be close to near done, before 7 years from now. But it's the way the society and technology is moving, simply because of the mass amounts of data. So now if we look at the digital mesh and we look at those pillars of themes, intelligence, digital, and mesh, and we look at all the corresponding things underneath each one, we see that ethics and privacy and quantum computing transcend all of those. So when those organizations said, what are the supply chain trends that are going to affect the supply chain? This is what they're talking about, all of this. So what are the key areas? We talked about autonomous things, an artificial intelligence that can literally work on its own and do those types of things that a human used to do, okay? These autonomous things, they exploit that artificial intelligence to deliver the behavior, right, that a human used to do while naturally interacting with their surroundings and with people. Think about this. You know, we all know Amazon, and we all know the robotics they have. We all know in a manufacturing, car manufacturer, that you have the welding machines and things like that. Well, now it's gotten even more sophisticated where humans and robots together work side by side to do tasks. The other thing is augmented analytics. This is looking at the fact that with all this data, and with all the analytics that have to be looked at and consumed and shared, how do we turn around and how do we enhance that? How are we able to, get that information and discern what we need to do quicker than we have in the past? So augmented analytics is another area we have to look at. Now, artificial intelligence isn't actually just doing. Artificial intelligence development is also a key technology where there's certain tools and technologies and best practices where we embed the intelligence, the artificial intelligence, but now that intelligence itself will continue to learn and create additional tools used for other ongoing processes. So it's an ever-learning, ever-evolving kind of concept. The concept of a digital twin, that's been around for a while. And, if we think about this, a digital twin is a digital representation of a real world entity or system. Think about it. People look at 3D printing, right? That mirrors an actual physical object. But a digital twin, that philosophy has been around for years. Because what about a CAD CAM drawing, where somebody would go in and actually, even though it wasn't three-dimensional, it was still a representation of a final physical product. So again, digital twin, we're just expanding upon that idea. And now edge computing. This is where the computing and the collection and delivery of the data is going to be closer to the source of the repository of the information. The reason we're doing that is, again, with a lot of data, there's going to be a lot of network traffic. And the more we can have occur close to the source and only send the summary information, that's going to reduce our network traffic, our latency, because it's all about how quick can we get it. Conversational platforms, the way that people need to interact with the digital world, be it augmented or mixed reality, it's really now changing how people perceive the digital world. In the past, people would be afraid to interact with it. Now it's very easy. Blockchain, that's a distributed ledger. Think of it this way. How many of you might use an as-of table, or you might have a process where records are written so that you can get a history of a transaction and what's occurring? Well, what blockchain is a process where all of the data is cryptographically signed. Each record has a timestamp and a reference, and all these records you can link together and see that complete history of that one event across any person or buddy that touched it. So again, this is a technology that's starting to occur out there. Why? Because of privacy, because of ethics, because people need to understand and be able to document and say, here's what's been happening in this whole transaction, stream. A smart space. That's a place where both humans and technology-enabled systems are interacting in a very open and connected manner, right? People, process, service things, all coming together to work together in a more, interactive and automated experience. You see that with smart cities, with, you go to parking garages and you see the little green light for a space that's available and a red light because there's no space available. All of this to get people and technology working together. We talked about that ethics and privacy, and we talked about what it meant. And we also talked about quantum computing and how, that's really going to change once all this data starts coming down the hill. It's going to change the way people look at things. So having said all of that, yeah, that's great. This technology is coming down the road. This technology could be layered into my supply chain. I can make my organization more efficient, but yet there's barriers to doing that. One of the biggest barriers to this technology trend coming down the road is that everybody is looking to do it all. Everybody's thinking big. Everybody says, I need to get all this stuff. When in effect, you as an organization should start small, really small. And what you should do is like sticking your toe in the water, then jump in and grow fast. What you should do is not simply say, I need to do this because they say technology-wise it's happening. You need to understand if you don't do it, what is the impact on your business? We don't do something just for the sake that it's out there. It has to have a consequence to my business if I don't do it. And your business are your customers. So you have to understand the consequence to the customer and look at it from their point of view to say, hey, do I need to embrace this or not? Sooner or later, you need to do it all. But don't think you have to do everything all at once. The next thing is your people, right? Just like way back in the day when COBOL and Fortran were the languages of choice, RPG, was a language of choice, all that's gone. And what about the people? And what about the way people worked and what they did? Now you're going to have to worry about your skill gap and your workforce. And as George Press said, we don't need people anymore to move boxes. We have to understand and get people that say, when the robot moves the box, what does it mean to the company and the organization, that data from moving the box? So we have to be able to leverage our people and make them become more able. The last barrier is building trust and security in an environment that is constantly on. And again, that gets back to that privacy and ethics issue. The digital age is 24/7, doesn't sleep, doesn't have to sleep, because the digital age is not about people, it's about the technology. So let's look at some survey results. When they solicited responses from executives and asked about the top challenges that they believe they face in the supply chain, they came back and the majority of them said that customers' demands of what they need us to do, and the people, and the increased competitive intensity and customer expectation. If you just look at the top four, you can see that they are presenting an extremely or very challenging position to organizations. You can see things like, out of stock situations and things like that aren't that challenging. It's more on the perception side, the resource side, the quality employee side. If we look at the workforce now and say, okay, fine, let me get a workforce that can handle this. Well, you can see that finding and hiring and retaining that talent and offering the talent a progressive, a path where they can grow within the organization, those are the major workforce challenges when it comes to your people. All right. What about the skills then that we need for the supply chain moving forward? All right. Well, organizations now say I need a more problem-solving, analytical kind of, general overall cross-functional knowledge. I don't really need people that understand change management or, global kind of experience. I need people now that can be analytical, forward-thinking, strategic across the organization. So the risks that supply chain executives say are out there, you can see that the top three are the privacy, ethics, hacking kind of thing, the security kind of thing. You can see that another concern is they don't feel that people within the supply chain organization truly understand what their issues are. They don't know what they need to fix. And again, they're concerned now with security, because if I have to act in a digital manner across my supplier and customer base, what type of security am I going to be able to put in play? So again, the top four there, again, boil down to just understanding what does it all mean. All right. Back in 2014, a survey was done back in 2014 where they said within 3 to 5 years, those lines in blue, this is what's going to happen within 3 to 5 years. So from 2014 to today, they expected an 84% uptick in inventory and network optimization, or they expected a 76% uptick in using sensors and automated identification. And you can see that today, those areas have fallen short. But if you look at cloud computing and storage, that one is relatively close to what they predicted back in 2014. Why? Because of the amounts of data that people need to store. And because of all this data, people no longer want to do on-prem and have to worry about constantly buying new hardware, building out more server rooms, et cetera, et cetera. People have found out that, hey, if I just go to cloud, it's easy for me to pick up the phone and say, hey, listen, I need to get X more servers, and have that vendor turn around and implement that for me. So again, you can see how things really haven't shaken out that well from 2014, except with the fact that cloud computing is progressing. So now let's take it to today. Okay, here it is 2018. What's the projection for the next 5 years for people and organizations adopting this technology? You can see that cloud is still going to lead the way. You can see that inventory and network optimization is going to be right behind there. But you can now see that sensors and automated identification and predictive analytics are going to be close behind. Why predictive analytics? Because again, I can't have people looking through all this ream of information. I need the systems to be able to tell me, what do I need to do? I need a quicker way to get to that answer. So you can see the bar, 80% within 5 years across those 7 industry or those 7 technologies. All right. If I look at what is going to affect the supply chain over 10 years, right, starting today, you can see that 80%, again, from cloud computing all the way up to inventory optimization and sensors, you can see that over 10 years, what people expect to be using. So just look at the top 3, all affecting inventory, all affecting your warehouse, all affecting your supply demand. Everything being able to quickly say, what do I need to make? What do I have on hand? What do I need to order? That kind of thing. So look at this graph. And if you look, at the left-hand side, how you invest in your automation, and you look at the right-hand side, the labor required to perform your job. You can see that in the lower right-hand corner, right now our mix of labor to automation is causing me to have to work harder with more people. Whereas if I start to bleed in this automation and I optimize that automation to my labor, you can see that I'm going to increase my operational efficiency and make my organization more efficient. And again, as more and more and more is required of an organization, you want to make sure that that's the arena you're in. That's the area you're part of. So how do you prepare? You make sure that you partner with a vendor that understands. You make sure you look for skill sets that are going to align to your future needs. You make sure you start training your workforce today. And you make sure that you make management aware that you need to increase your investment dollars in budget for technologies coming down the road. You start building your nest egg today, because if you fail to prepare, right, you're preparing to fail. So this survey was conducted, and on the Internet of Things, you can see that today 50% of organizations use some form of Internet of Things. And you can see within the next 3 to 5 years, another 30%. And how are they using the Internet of Things? Getting real-time analytics, getting insight for customers and suppliers, quality control. If you look at those respondents and said, who's using robotics and automation? You can see today and within the next 2 years, again, over 50% are going to use some form of robotic. And then within the next 3 to 5 years, another 20%. And how are they going to use that? Again, to receive, to put away, to load, unload, to pick and pack. All right. Who was part of the survey? If you look on the upper left, you can see the majority were either manufacturers, service providers, or distributors. 75% were made up by a manufacturer, service provider, or distributor. And when you looked at the size of their organizations, you can see that less than 26% were over $1 billion. Less than 30% were more than 500 million. If you look at the 10 million or you look at less than 50 million, we're still talking that there's 45% of these respondents were less than $50 million in revenue. And if you ask them, what are you going to spend? Anywhere from $1 to $5 million. Well, you look 53% say less than $1 million, and you can see another 27%, are going to go $1 million to $5 million. And the most of the respondents were in North America. Even though 23% have global operations, the majority of that 23% were still North American companies. So this is affecting the United States. This isn't some skewed result based upon what people are doing in Europe or Asia, right? This is in the United States what people and organizations feel need to be done. So, in closing, what I want to say to you is this. In the next 3 years, they were asked, what do you think is going to drive your biggest business transformation? What do you think is going to enable the next indispensable technology? What do you think is going to drive the greatest benefit to life, society, and the environment? And you can see that the top answers for all three of those questions was IoT, artificial intelligence, and robotics. So what we need to understand is, how can we get these technologies into our organization? What can we do thinking small to position ourselves to avoid any kind of catastrophe or any kind of bottleneck in the future? Through 2020, you need to let your user community help you understand what it needs from a technology perspective. Your user community is going to grow 5 times faster in understanding technology than your actual technology people. That's what it's shown. They've also shown that by 2021, 10% of cars are going to have some type of autonomous driving capability compared with less than 1% today. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to be driverless, but it might be they can back up and park in a parking spot or stop, if they get too close to a car. But the long and short of it is within 2 years, 10% of all cars are going to have that type of functionality. Digital twins are going to be in half of the large industrial companies, and it's going to provide them a 10% improvement in effectiveness within 2 years. We talked about in 2 years, if you don't comply for privacy, 100% more in cost than companies that are. And within 3 years, at least 40% of application development projects will have some type of artificial intelligent code developer on the team. Somebody that is going to be able to embed artificial intelligence in whatever application solution you come up with. Within 3 years, those organizations that look for immersive technologies for both their consumers and the enterprise itself, they're going to use 25% more effort deploying them to production. By 2022, 50% of the people in industry are going to have some type of virtual assistant or some type of intelligent agent to interact more naturally with their people and their surroundings. 2023, 4 years from now, companies are going to start to budget for that quantum computing project compared to only 1% today. Why? By 2023, there's going to be so much information flowing out there that there has to be a better way to analyze it and to get analytics. And again, in 9 years, advanced AI and analytic technologies are going to expand all edge devices. And by 2030, again, blockchain is in its infancy, but by 2030, they say that that's going to have an uptick of over $3 trillion in business value to an organization. So again, the point of all these is do not rest on your laurels today. Don't say, oh, 2021, I can start doing it. That's 2 years from now. Even if it took you 6 months, 8 months to develop and implement, you still only have 12 months to sit on your hands. So, digital transformation, driving organizations to refresh your model, technology constantly changing at an ever-increasing pace. Your ERP vendors are changing their technology. They've been changing their technology to accept this new technology. Your internal technology innovation leader needs to change their mind and understand that they have to embrace constant change in technology. We can't keep doing things the same way. We have to be in a continuous next type of mindset to achieve any kind of success in a global world that's always changing, right? If we don't change and the rest of the world does, then we fall behind. All these trends are critical for you in your continuous innovation process. And you have to realize that the future is going to be made up of more smart devices that provide us with more insightful services all the time, everywhere we are, i.e., the complete intelligent digital mesh. We need to understand that it's going to continue, and it's going to continue to grow and get bigger, and we have to become part of that. And your innovation leaders need to understand that. So, if you're a leader in your company, explore all the AI-driven capabilities. If you're a leader, educate, engage, create ideas where you can embed this artificial intelligence to either automate or augment some type of human activity. If you're a leader, develop and deploy a mix of platforms that incorporate both the virtual, the augmented, the mixed reality, so that your users have an immersive experience. If you're a leader, support IoT initiatives, develop and prioritize business cases to build your digital twins of physical things and organizational processes. If you're a business leader, learn about, monitor the major computing initiatives while they're still being in their infancy and emerging stage. Understand what they are, where technology is going, so that you can keep your finger on the pulse and identify the real world problems that exist. Understand what you should be layering in and understand that impact it's going to have on security. Okay? So this has been a discussion of the overall trends, the overall, where did they say we're going to be? Where are we? Where did they say we're going to go? What I'd like to show you right now is I'd like to show you just a quick little video clip from Boston Dynamics of a robot that they're creating. Now, what you're going to see here is just scratching the surface of what Atlas can do. So you can Google Boston Dynamics and see him running through the woods. You can see him putting away boxes, things like that. But if you look at this is a pretty scary concept to understand that this exists today. The ability for a machine to be able to do this type of activity. And as I said, there's one of him where he's putting away boxes on the shop floor and people are kicking the boxes out of the way, but yet he's able to understand where the box is and where it went to so that he can turn around and put it away. Technology is not waiting for anybody. You can go to the Amazon site and look at their robotics for Amazon and see that there's very few people on the warehouse floor now actually doing anything because the robotics are doing it all. So with that, I'm going to turn this back over to Amanda. I want to thank you all again, and we'll open it up for any questions. Thank you, Miss Amanda.
All right, thanks, Tom. And now I would like to cover a few follow-up items and then move into our question and answer section of the webcast. I would like to remind everybody that if you would still like to submit a question, you can do so with the questions panel in the GoToWebinar console window on the right side of your screen. If you minimized your console earlier, you can click the left arrow to redisplay the questions panel and enter in your question. Okay, our webcast today is part of GSI's free ongoing educational webcast series on JD Edwards. Our upcoming webcasts are listed on the screen, and to view our most up-to-date schedule, please visit getgsi.com/webcasts. And GSI provides extensive free educational resources for the JD Edwards community, including our weekly educational webcasts, our monthly newsletter called the GSI Insider, our online resource center where you can access hundreds of recorded on-demand webcasts, white papers, etc., and our on-site and virtual workshops. If you would like to sign up for our weekly email reminders for upcoming webcasts, our monthly newsletter, or create an account to access our resource center, you can go to getgsi.com, go to Platforms on the main menu, select JD Edwards, and then select the appropriate link on the left. Okay, so far I see that there are no questions. However, if you do think of a follow-up question after the webcast, please feel free to email either Tom or myself. So as a follow-up from today's webcast, we ask that you complete a short 1-minute survey when you exit. You will be receiving an email with a link to our resource center on our website where you can access the recording from today's webcast as well as a copy of the presentation. And after today's webcast, we will do the drawing for the $25 Amazon gift card. And anyone that attended the entire webcast will be eligible, and we will notify the winner. Thanks again for attending our presentation, and we hope you have a great day.
Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate it.